Hey everybody, my name is Adam Kidd and I am the FX Kid, and what I want to do today is continue on from my drop shadow node tutorial and take it one step further. Well, actually a whole lot of steps further. This is going to be a very, very excessive tutorial. I can't imagine when you're going to use it beyond this effect, but what the heck, let's give it a try. Before we do that though, let's take a quick look. Let me zoom in a little bit. I want to encourage everybody to take a look at the open shorts that I've created, and these are short films that were made. I got a nice little playlist there on my channel, so please make sure you like and subscribe, and then watch the shorts because some of them are actually enjoyable, some of them not so much. We also have our promos, which are promos that I used to do to get work, and they've been advertised before, but enjoy those. Anyway, enough with the pandering, and let's hop in. All right, so we're going to open up Blender. All right, and this time around we're using 2.78, I believe. Frame everything up there, nice. All right, yeah, 2.78A. And what I want to do is open up something I've been using relatively recently. So what I have here is the drop node tutorial scene with the drop node removed. And this is just a shot of my FX Kid logo, and you can use whatever you'd like in this circumstance. All you need to do is just make sure that, let's go into default view, you have something set up, preferably on the center plane there, and you have a camera pointing down. You don't even need a light if you're using shadeless material like I am, and just make sure you're in the top view, which you can do by hitting 7, then hit Control 0, and your camera will align accordingly. All right, so now that we're inside of the compositor, all right, let's make some magic. We're gonna create, well, this. So what you saw there was the opening title sequence, which is actually created from one object. It's the same object being repeated over and over and over again. It's quite appealing in my opinion. I mean, I'm kind of an old school 80s kid, so I'm used to seeing stuff floating around in the background like that on all of my TV shows. So let's give it a try. So I've done this a couple of different ways, and I think what I'm going to do is the simplest way. And for starters, let's make sure that we have our Blender scene set to rendering no sky. And we're doing full resolution, 100%. Nice alpha channel for exporting to PNG. And that we have a viewer node put in place. I like to stick that reroute node in there just to make things a little bit easier to see. All right, so let's hop into it. The first step is going to be doing a quick render. All right, and as you see, it comes up nice, but we need to scale that down. So let's go ahead and add distort, and we're going to go transform. So we can go scale, but frankly, this time around, we don't really need it. We're going to shrink that down until it's nice and small and happy. So for me, I found that my magic scale, that magic spot, is somewhere around 0.3. And I know that because I've done this like a whole bunch of times. Now the next thing we need to do is move this into the bottom left-hand corner. Hang on a second, let me get real for a second. When you do this in a big like company setting, like for a TV show, for the news, something like that, you're going to want to make it a little bit more dynamic. So let's say you own a big news company and you want to have that nice little floating title in the background, and you have to cater to 25 different stations. You want to be able to put their logo in this place instead of this, and sometimes the sizings are a little bit different. So we would put some custom presets in. We would also cater to whatever their TV dimensions are. So if they're broadcasting in 1080, which most people are by now, then we would set up the dimensions that way. If we were setting it up for 2K or 4K, we'd have to change it again because this would look different and weird. So, sorry, sidebar over. Let's move on. So what we want to do is we want to put this in the bottom left-hand corner. And again, I have a couple of presets that I use to do this work for me. I'll give you a hint. It involves math nodes. Okay, and then the next thing we want to do is get that in the bottom there. So let's push that down. Somewhere around there. And like I said before, there's some math that will solve this for us. And that's another tutorial. So let's hop in and get the work done. All right. So the next thing we want to do is we want to copy this image and put it on top of itself. And it's pretty easy to do. A little daunting at first, but then once you realize that you got to put another one on top there's one little hurdle to get over, and then after that it's really just copying and pasting. So let's continue. So what we're going to do is add in an alpha over node, and that's under add color alpha over. And now that that's in place, you'll see we have one copy of the logo on top of itself. So we're going to put in a distortion, and that is going to be a translate node. If we put that on top, we need to find this magic number that spaces out our graphic. So it's going to be in the y-axis, all right? And it's usually 250. Let's see here. 250. Could I go a little bit further? Maybe. But I like that nice round 250. So I'm going to stick with that. And then what I'm going to do to help organize things a little bit better, is I'm going to add an input node. Value, and I'm going to put that same 250 in there, 250, and then get rid of the value there, pop it in place. Now the reason we're going to do that is we're going to take advantage of that value node's output in the future. So what we're going to do is basically recreate this pattern of translate and alpha over. But we're going to add one more thing to it as we go. And you'll see what it is very quickly. All right, Shift D. All right, so we're going to duplicate that translate node, Shift D. And I like duplicating them just because they're already there. Now, if I was to take this value node and plug it in, you'll see it does duplicate it, but not the way we want it to, because we've already got 2 there and it only gave us 1. And the reason behind that is it's only pushing things up 250 pixels. So we need to double that. 250, we need 500. Yeah, that's right. 250? 500. Okay, yes, that is right. So what we need to do is put in a math node. So we're going to put in add converter, math node. And if you've never worked with math nodes, all they do is they take your value, whatever you put in there, and then apply some sort of mathematical value to it. So if we put it in here, right now all it's going to do is take 250 plus 0.5, which is not going to be any good for us. Let's go into multiply. Times it by 2. So 250 times 2 is 500. Exactly. All right. And what that did is that spaced things out really nice for us. And we're going to duplicate that magic yet again. So let's put in another alpha over node, Shift D. All right. And push them together. Take the same translate node, pop it into place. And I'm going to take that same multiplication node that I had before and put that there too. So now it's going to be 250 times 2 times 2. And what'll happen is that'll put a nice buffer of my logo right there, make it easier to manage. So we got that done. And the next thing we want to do is, we want to go left to right, but if I remember from the original video, there's actually an offset between the columns. So it seems like every other one goes down. So we have to make that work. And to make that work, let's try putting some space between our graphics here, B. And let's see here. Let's add another alpha over node. So this one here, we're going to put that same translate into place. But this is going to manage our left to right. So let's find out what that value is. Let's see, X. Wouldn't it be nice if it's 250? No. So it looks like I've sort of made a lopsided logo. Or asymmetrical. That's not accurate, no. Okay. So the next step is to take that node that we've just done, 285, and then the Y value, we're going to go down. Try to find a nice halfway point. Right about there. And the good news is that negative 119.3 whatever, we don't have to touch that ever again. We don't have to worry about it. This 285, that's a different story. So let's go ahead and add input value. Type in 285, or we could copy and paste that if we want to. And I always like to press 0. All right, so now we need to duplicate this. And the trick is, again, another alpha over. And I'm going to steal a translate from over here because these ones are blank. I had to put the y-axis in there. And if we remember correctly, we just need a multiply node. I'm going to steal this one from over here. I could put a new one in, but I've already done the dirty work. X. And there we go. So before I go any further, I'm going to clean things up just a skosh. Let's add a frame. And I'm going to gather all of this. Oh, I appear to have selected the box, or the frame. And pop it in that frame. So the nice thing about this frame is I can go on and on forever. In the y-axis, I can keep building up, and the frame will just stretch to meet that. I could even go as far as adding a reroute node like this. And grabbing it, let's add another reroute node. Shift D, copy in place, grab, Shift D, grab you right there, Shift D, and take all of this material down here. And that'll keep things nice and organized. I could even put in another reroute or another frame if I want to. I don't do this as much. I probably should be doing it more, but it is good organization. And because I'm going this far, let's go ahead and add another frame. Layout, frame. Grab. And our next step is to continue this magic from left to right. So let's put another alpha over in. Oh, don't forget to connect them. Translate. And multiply by 2. So 2 times 2 times 2 in the x-axis. All right, and that looks like it fills in very, very nicely. So if I was to zoom in on my image, it looks like I got this nice mosaic that I'm working with. Or not a mosaic. It's an array. A mosaic would be if they were all bunched together to make an image, but right now it's just an array. All right, so the next thing we want to do is try to control this wall. We want to make it animated in some way, shape, or form. So what works for me is at the end of all this madness, let's pop in a rotation. Let's see here. Add, you know what? Because I've come this far, let's organize things a little bit further. All right, so now let's put in that distortion, the rewrite or rotation. I'm going to put it at the very end. And let's see if we want to rotate on the negative. Oh, let's go on the plus. 20 degrees, or 6 degrees. That looks nice. So our next step here is to bring everything into frame. As you see right now, it's sort of offset. So let's move this on the y-axis, down, and there we go. And animating it is just as simple as taking that value there, and I'm actually going to duplicate it. So input value negative 506.8 I'm going to delete that. Actually, 0. That'll offset everything. All right, and I'm going to put my animation value in here. Actually, you know what? I am going to put that in there because if I ever have to unplug it, at least I know what my value is. All right, so now time to animate it. On frame 1, let's just pick a keyframe. So insert I, and then let's say we're going for 50 frames. You know what? Let's go for broke. 250 frames because that's standard Blender. And I'm going to put some spacing between there, and let's. Oh, other way. Let's carry this down all the way until we start running out of space. Zoom out a little bit. A little bit more. Oh. So it looks like we're starting to run out of stuff. And let's insert one more keyframe. So our next step is to put the rest of the scene together. So the first thing I'm going to do is pop in an alpha over node, add distort, and let's go, color alpha over. And from right there, I could choose to pop in a color. I can do it just manually there. I like to always have some sort of input available, so let's make an input. Add input RGB, and let's switch those. All right. So right now I'm only broadcasting white. Let's say I want to do a little bit different. What's yellow? Okay, so yellow's right there. The opposite of yellow would be blue. That kind of works. But I want to offset just a little bit because I do have to pop another logo on top. You know, one thing I might actually do is change the color of my FX Kid there because it really pops out. So from here, let's go ahead and add color HSV. And if you remember your color theory there, all colors go Roy G. Biv, red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, violet. So where we are right now, it's recognizing it as yellow. If we were to move any further to the right, it should recognize it as green. Blue. Hey, actually, I like that. That's really cool. I'll remember that. See, some of this stuff is just accidental. You know, I mean, it works out, but not always. Let's see. Let's find an indigo. Violet. And since I'm a kid of the 80s, I'm going to stick with that. Our next step is to take our input node here, and that's our render layers, and we're going to add an alpha channel to it, or an alpha over. So I'm going to pop that on the bottom. Bring that way, way, way over here. All right, and let's do a little siphoning. All right, so that looks really nice. The next thing we're going to do is work on our little graphic here. So let's bring in a classic. Let's bring in our drop shadow node, if I can find it. So I'm going to go append, drop shadow node, node tree, drop shadow, append. So now if I go to add and then under group, there should be a drop shadow option. Pop that into place. And I don't think it's going to work there because I messed that up. I should really have put the drop shadow before the alpha over. So let's disconnect that. Put it in place there. And that looks really nice. What I might do to just sort of give it a little bit more of a broadcast effect is add a soften filter to it. So let's add filter, and then filter again, and put a soften node in there. And it just keeps it from looking too sharp. It kind of rasterizes things a little bit, but makes it look nice. I like it. It's very pretty. You can customize these colors however you want. In fact, you could even go in after the fact and throw in another HSV. So let's Shift D, pop that in place there, and change your color yet again. Give it a little bit of a Saved by the Bell feel. And if you want to go one step further, this is actually pretty cool. Let's see. Start on frame 277 or 227. Insert a keyframe. And then earlier on, find a different shade. And it'll actually rotate through the colors. All right, and then frame 1. So it'll bounce all across the hues and give you a really cool animated effect. After that, I mean, if you want to make your text there a little bit smaller, that is an option that you have available. Like if you want to put a title underneath it, let's go ahead and put add color, or no, distort, translate. Oh no, I'm actually going to do transform. Transform. Let's scale things down just a skosh and move it up a little bit. And what I do is I animate these values. So it starts full screen and then it moves up to include my title. And yeah, I'm cheating a little bit here. What I do is I pre-render out the title of my show. Like, for example, if this is a special episode dedicated to drop shadow nodes, then what I'll do is I'll pre-make a title saying that, or I might even go as far, and I know we're breaking loose of tradition here, I will put in another title here on a second layer, and let's pop it in right there. Text, add text, And we're going to call this all right, now find a effective font. I like Impact. There we go. And if I don't have Impact, I usually have Hatton, which usually works out well. There's Hatton right there. And, oh, I forgot to color this. Color, let's make it sitcom yellow. And we'll pop that on again on the second layer, which means we have to set up 2 render layers. So render layer 2, turn off that sky rendering. We're only going to see channel 2. And let's go ahead and add input render layers. Set that to render layer 1. Pop in another alpha over. I like the fact that I can copy and paste them if I like. And let's see how this looks. Oh. Should be like that. No, actually you're right. It's the other way. I forgot to render. Okay, so what I might do is take my drop shadow again. Move that into place. And if I want to put some extra definition into the background, what I can do is if I want real overkill, I can set edge rendering under post-processing. And it gives it a really cool effect, which I think I'm going to use. I like it. All right, so that's all there is to it. You go ahead and you render out your title sequence, you throw some music underneath it, and you got a good show. So I really hope this works out because it's the opening to my show now, and I used an example earlier on where I said, hey, take a look at this. This is the show. This is the thing. So this is it. So I really hope it works. So I want to thank you very much for your time. Please like our videos, subscribe to the channel, and we'll talk to you later. Bye.